All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the Sunday Celebrity Typing Live Session 1. So, here's how it works, just in case you don't know. The idea is that if you want me to type a certain celebrity, all you need to do is to do a super chat. And that's a super chat of £10 or above. And I will spend time going through and trying to type this person based on all the information I can find online. Now, the higher the super chat, the more I'll prioritize your particular person to type over someone else's. So that's how it works. If anyone wants to do a super chat, please feel free to post one and then I'll get started. Just going to let people have a bit of a think of who they'd like me to type. Like, so you have 6 concurrent viewers. Who would you like me to type? Anyone in the public domain. Anyone at all. Can be a celebrity, can be a historical figure, can be a world leader, whatever it is. As long as they are in the public domain, I will do my best to type them. All right, we got seven viewers so far. Might be worth waiting for a few more people to join until we get our first super chat. Just checking, are people able to use super chats? Is that all okay? Maybe I should have a look and see. Yep, super chat should be working. So it's just that little dollar sign at the bottom next to chat and the smiley face. And you click that, click super chat, then type in who you'd like me to type. And as long as it's £10 and above, I will do it. Okay, so those who don't know what a super chat is, a super chat is a way by which you can put a message onto the chat function that comes with a certain financial amount. It's basically a payment for a certain message to stand out. So if you do a super chat, what you would do is click that dollar sign, that dollar note, and it should be next to the chat bar with the emoticons. If you click that, it'll ask you what your message is. You just type in your message. That should be the name of someone for me to type. Then just put in the financial amount. And if it any amount of £10 and up, I will do a full typing of that person. And of course, the higher amounts I prioritize over the lower amounts. Acacia, thank you for your $1.99. I'm going to be doing this for £10 and up. Let's say $10 and up. $10 and up. Don't worry, Acacia, don't you worry. If you just do 10, do $8 more, $8 more because you put in $1.99 and I will do it. Yeah, we'll do this in terms of $10, not £10. Hi, Chris. Good to see you. You know what, Chris? I'm going to add you as a moderator. I think you make a very good moderator. So I'm going to add you as one. So there. All right, Acacia. Fantastic. Louis C.K. All right, let's have a look at Louis C.K. Now, from what I remember, Louis C.K. is a celebrity. He is a comedian. He is also someone who had a very unfortunate episode where a certain sexual experience he had with someone else was made very public and to great, and it was very shaming. It was part of a sort of perhaps an example where the Me Too movement may have been excessive, despite very rightfully finding many men who were abusers. Um, so yeah, I'm glad to look into him. Let's have a look now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen as I go through so you can see what I'm clicking through to try to find out what his type is. Let's see if I can share screen now. All right, can you see my screen? Oh, all right, Louis C.K. So let's have a quick look just above Wikipedia first of all. Can I just check that people can see my screen? Can people see what I'm doing? So I make sure I'm not losing people and not able to see what I'm doing. Oh, where did that go? Lucy K. Right. So, what can we say about him? He's an American stand comedian, actor, filmmaker. Okay. So, what can say about him? He started his career as a filmmaker. Wants to pursue a career in stand-up comedy. Okay. So, right from the beginning, he was interested in entertainment. He moved more towards a focus on filmmaking, tragic comedy. Okay. Okay. So, he wanted to act. He didn't immediately go into comedy, he immediately went into entertainment. Um, it appears. Independent short films, mock talent show. Okay, it's a bit of comedy. No, he was in comedy actually quite early. Okay. There's the whole issue of the sexual misconduct side of things. Mm. Right. Okay. So sounds like quite an unfortunate experience where, he had a certain amount of power because he was a famous comedian. And yeah, he basically got into a unfortunate situation there. Um, that political partisanship. So you think very conservative, very liberal. I think when someone falls into one category of everything, I'm very suspicious. It doesn't make sense to me. You have the same solution to every issue. Okay. So he's not ideological from the sound of it. He called Trump an insane bigot, added he's not a monster, he's a sad man. Hmm. Later referred to the. Oh, he sent an email. He referred to later as irrational. Gross, crook, dirty, rotten, lying, cycle. Okay. Okay. Let's see what else we can find. Let's find any interviews of him. Let's do that. That's one of the Joe Rogan experience. Okay, let's see some of this.
Yeah, thanks. January 28th, I'm going back to the Garden. I used to play there all the time.
Like, can people hear
Haven't
this?
played there in a number of years. I didn't know it would come back. There it is. Yeah. Ooh. And so we put the sale, Joe on sale. I remember I wrote to you because I wanted to do it in the round. Yeah. I never did it that way. And so I asked you if it was good. You said it was really fun that way. It's still fun. And then I found out that it costs twice as much because you got a light from two sides. Yeah. And also you need to be able to see the guy from four angles. So you need more cameras. Right. And then we sold the thing out. Like we sold 10,000 tickets on the first day. It's sold out now. It's 18,000 seats. It's the most people I'll ever have. I mean, I'm doing this 38 years. That'll be the biggest audience I ever played for. And so it costs so much money though to put the cameras in there. Yeah. For the Jumbotron. And then I thought let's live stream it because it's actually only costing a little bit more. There's not that much more because we already have all this shit in there. Right, right. So, yeah, so we're going to live stream it on my website. You just go and it's like $25 and that's awesome. We'll keep it up. It's a live event. It's not a special so much. It's a live event. So it's all new material since my last special and it'll be up till the 17th, I think, of February. Then we take it down. And then it'll go away. And then in April, I'll put out a special of the same material that I already shot. At the Dolby Theater in LA, I shot a special there. Oh, really? When did you shoot that? Earlier this month. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's really good. That's a great idea. I love that. Yeah. So that's like the album. Yeah. That's like the album. Right. And that'll be the same as every special I've ever done, like $10, and you can download it and all that stuff and keep it. But this one is only for streaming and it's a short, limited. So Chris Rock is doing a live special too on Netflix, right? He's going to film it and it'll stream live on Netflix. Is that what they're going to do for the first time? Yeah, they never live streamed anything. So that's
just answering that question from Glamala Yassine. Is ideology indicator of strong TI or SEI and ESE ideological? I would say that things get particularly ideological when you get to the beta introverts. They're the ones where they're combining introverted logic with introverted intuition for the pursuit of absolute truth. So that I'd say is yeah. That's what I'd say is actually the key reason why they be ideological. Whereas you take say an SEI, it's TI and SI. So it's more about being pernickety about certain ways of doing things in one's environment. It's less about the pursuit of an absolute truth. It's more about no, don't mess this up. Don't make this all stressful and too much information for me to take in. So yeah, I wouldn't expect SEIs to be particularly ideological. They can be sort of set in their opinions though, because they struggle to take in lots of new information, new perspectives. Not that they're not open to those new perspectives.
He's their first one, and that's cool for him. It'll be March, I think he's doing. It's in Atlanta. I've heard nothing but good things about his new set. Yeah, he's been, I think, holding back a little bit. So I think this tour has been great for him. Yeah. I think
thank you, Ducky Cat. Thank you very much.
I'm excited for his show.
I'm excited for comedy right now.
Yeah, comedy is
it's amazing,
picking up steam again.
Well, it's like people are really longing for it because there's so much political correct bullshit, this woke bullshit, what you can and can't say, and so many people feel upset about it, and that like they don't know what to say because they can't talk at work or they get fired, they can't talk amongst their community or they get shamed. And they like ugh. And then you can go see someone talk on stage, like,
yes, and that's what comedy always was.
Yeah,
it's always been that.
Yeah,
and it's to me everything that's happened has been natural. It's like normal that comedy has to be defended every few years.
Yeah,
like when everybody's being cool, like when the world is kind of cool, like it was up till maybe 2015 or so. Like it's just kind of cool. Comedy is cool, and But then when things get shitty in terms of this sort of thing, people being more divided and unable to express themselves, comedy gets more important, but also starts getting attacked, and we have to defend it. That's all.
Yeah,
I mean, by just doing it. That's all. I don't get into defending it by saying, "Fuck these people." It just means you have to keep doing it at the same discipline.
Right, doing it the same way.
Yeah,
Don't pull back.
No, just keep doing it, and folks will show up and love it.
Well, that's
Right.
one of the things.
So he believes in persistence here, less about getting into conflict.
He didn't back off of anything.
Quite a calm person, you could say.
At the end, the faggot thing was so funny, man. It's so funny. It's such a good bit.
That's new today's straight man or faggot.
Yes, it's so funny. It's so
thanks.
good because it's so like he's going there, But it's really well thought out.
My audiences are really diverse. I mean, in terms of like, I get young people and some kind of like progressive looking people. I get men and women and all races, mostly white, but some cities I get more. But I tested it in front of so many people that bit, and every kind of person laughed at it. The only people that got offended by it were people like in the South or more kind of like red state people, because when I said straight men are faggots, I'm talking about Brooklyn twinks.
Right.
But they don't know. They think I'm talking about them. Hey, so they missed it. I thought I would be offending progressive young kids, but they for them it was a relief because it's about them, and they feel that way. In real life, people like being laughed at. They like their community to like when you do good jokes about black people, not like a white perspective about being alienated from them, but if you do a good joke about black culture or Chinese culture or Jewish culture, the people in those groups laugh because they're in the show. He's
using laughter as relief. Laughter, sort of communal relief.
But people just, I mean, it never really changed. And the way I figured it was there was no point in backing down and changing, because what do you?
So tapping into people of different backgrounds, relating to them enough to find something that they can laugh at about themselves.
I do, which is just flagrant fouls, just bad behavior throughout.
Right.
For a while, that was like considered the greatest thing, and people were just like, "This is great."
Yeah.
The mainstream loved it. Everybody loved it, right? And I had that for years, that success. So I figured if I have to do it and I start getting hated for it, or even just business goes down, I have to take some heat from the sides. So what? That's not a lot to ask of me, considering what I've enjoyed. So if it was like that before. When I first started, I was gross, and a lot of people stayed away from me. And then I had a heyday, and then I'm like, it's time to go back into the underground. It's time to go back into just like I don't get mentioned in the big lists for a lot of reasons, but also for the comedy. But so
see, it's important to him that he comes across as someone who's quite down to earth.
If it's not as popular anymore, I'm still
but it is as popular. But that's what's bullshit. It is as popular. The lists are nonsense. The lists are all non-binary people made
Let's
of fucking.
take a look at some of these quotes now. So, these aren't. Let me type in Louis C.K. Oh, this is a topic. No, this isn't right. Let me try this. Here we go. Come on. I don't stop eating when I'm full. The meal isn't over when I'm full. It's over when I hate myself. I've never experienced if you work harder at it, apply more energy and time or consistency, get better. Yeah, very much the idea. Working at it, being persistent, working on it, refining it. That's sort of the wholesome hard work thing coming through here. I was younger, I lied all the time because once you understand the power of lying, it's really like magic because you transform reality for people. Okay. It's kind of awkward to eat alone in a restaurant because everyone's looking at me. Talking is always positive. That's why I talk too much. Cars and cameras are the two things I let myself be materialistic about. I don't care about other stuff. Okay. I thought about going to New York NYU Film School. This was ideal to me. I didn't make any kind of grades in high school. Yeah. So nothing, not academic. He instead was drawn towards entertainment. Um, right from the beginning, he wanted to make things that would elicit certain reactions in people, it appears. As you can see by the idea of the power of lying and transforming reality for people, he's interested in that. Likes to push the envelope. They view money as his money, but as the money, a resource. And it pulls back up, it has to be flushed back. Interesting, he even speaks about money as being almost like a homeostasis. That's interesting. Another room of writers writing pitch ideas. Yeah, he likes to keep things pretty horizontal. I'm seeing alpha. I'm seeing more likely alpha SF. I like pressure. Pressure to make him crack. It's enabling. He eats pressure. I think it's a bad feeling in his gut. This might be too much. You feel pressure when you're not doing something. Hmm. Okay. So he likes some pressure. He can handle some amount of pressure. But also knows when there's too much. It sounds to me he doesn't go off into the extremes. He likes a certain amount, and also the pressure is also kind of internal. Like he feels pressure when he's not doing something. So that's interesting. It's not necessarily from other people. It's a positive thing to talk about terrible things, make people laugh about them. Yeah, he's not a political comedian. There's another thing. He's not ideological. He's not trying to pick a side. He's trying to be someone who's down to earth, who anyone can relate to, no matter what side you're on. He doesn't want that to matter. But then, of course, he'll say mean things about Donald Trump because he thinks he's a nasty person, and then he'll regret saying that. Um, Apparently, he's an awkward kid. Hmm. Not a simple vilification of right-wing people. It's easy to say, well, you're Christian, you're anti-this, anti-that, and I hate you. But to me, it's more interesting to say, what is person like and how do they really think? Okay. So the point is, again, it's openness rather than being dismissive that's coming out here. There's a lot of people who have lost their jobs and they still have a sense of humor. Right, I'm getting a good profile here, I would say. Let's see what else we can say about Louis C.K. What do people say about Louis C.K.'s comedy and style? Observational comedy. Okay, he's got a mix. It's like very, very confessional, troubadour style. Let's take a look at some of his comedy. Let's look at it direct. Go to another. Best Louis C.K. stand-up comedy. Let's take a look.
first started doing stand-up, I was living in Boston, and there was one club that was owned by a gay guy. And my memory is that that guy was always trying to fuck me. That's my memory. I've carried it for 20 years. There was a gay guy trying to fuck me all the time. And recently I caught up with an old friend of mine from those days who I hadn't seen in years. And we started talking about different people, and he brought him up. And I said, that guy always used to try to fuck me. And he goes, he did? I was like, yeah. He goes, really? Did he like take you to his house or something and really try to physically? No, it's just that, you know what I mean? He tried to fuck me all the time. He's like, well, did he say that he pushed you and, you know, say stuff all the time and make you uncomfortable? No, it just was. And as we went through it, finally, the truth that came out was the whole story really was there once was a gay man. That's it. That's really what happened. He was gay. I was 19. And now he tried to fuck me all the time. Like I went through life with that. Some people worry about getting old because they think it means that they're dying, which it does. But this doesn't worry me. I don't worry about dying because I think it's necessary. I think it's something that you just have to do. You should do it. It's when it's your turn, you should do it. If somebody, you know, your doctor says you're dying, just say, okay, and die. Don't, you know, maybe a miracle. Fuck you, get in the ground. Just take your turn. I really think that way now.
Down to earth relatability.
You know, when I started thinking that way, was my mom died. My mom died a couple of years ago of anorexia. She was 300 pounds. She was bad at it. I know, it's fucked up, right? What a piece of shit. Anyway, she wouldn't have liked that joke. She would have. My mom was fucking. She was gross. And I remember when she was dying, I was alone with her, and the nurse said, "This is imminent." I was like, "What does that mean?" She goes, "It's she's gonna die in a minute." Like, just say in a minute. It's so close. Anyway, I was alone with her, and she died, and I was like, "Fuck, they're gonna think I did it." Obviously. I didn't want to lose my mom. I really didn't. But when we had this one conversation like 2 weeks before she died, when we were talking about it, and I said, "Mom, I don't want you to die," and she said, "You'll get over it." That's what she said, and I did. But in the moment, I wasn't willing to accept it. I was like, "I don't want you to go." She said, "But we're going in order. Do you understand? This makes sense. I'm your mother." I'm like, "Mom, stop talking like that. This is sad." She goes, "No, it's not. Look at it this way. Do you want me to never die?" I was like, "No, I don't want that at all." It's just me and my wife, and it's sad because my wife is beautiful. I love to look at her, and I feel for her. She's gorgeous. She really is. She just turned 40, and she looks awesome.
Okay, he has a wife. Back then, does he still have a wife? Okay, they divorced. What happened there? Hmm. Okay. So yeah, he was divorced, probably. And that probably led to sort of the interacting with women, which led to the Me Too issue. Yeah. So the other party deny the allegations. They're rumors. They think talking about stuff in the press is a good idea. I mean, one thing I will say, it would be unusual for an SCI to, well, I think it'd be unusual for SCIs to actually be stand-up comedians, at least on their own in front of everyone. Because the key thing about SCIs is that they don't like awkwardness, especially not awkwardness in their immediate social environment. Being on stage and really going badly and people reacting negatively to you, I think that could be an SCI's nightmare. More so when they have to deal with factual information rather than bombing in terms of how they're coming across to people. But it does seem to me that he does respond well to the pressure. He does seem to like performance. There's a certain I don't know, even in the sexual side, masturbating in front of people is and multiple people it's interesting. There's a certain idea of doing it in front of people. I'm inclined to think ESC is more likely than SCI at this point. What I haven't seen actually much of at all is introverted logic. I've seen some signs of extroverted intuition. And also just the acts of impropriety are, it's taking risks with people he doesn't necessarily know so well. And those relationships not going so well, despite the sort of almost the performative nature of them. It's almost something an ILE could end up doing as well. But I don't think he is an ILE. I think the attraction towards entertainment right from the get-go is clear here, and it's the idea of creating a light-hearted atmosphere. And there's a certain amount of risk there, and a certain degree, a desire to push the envelope more so than I'd expect of an SCI. So yeah, in terms of my thoughts on Louis C.K., I think ESC is the most likely typing from looking at this. All right, so now the next one. Who's next? Well, we had a lovely donation from Ducky Cat. Mathieu Van der Poel. Now, I haven't heard of him before. Let's take a look at Mathieu Van der Poel. Ah, a Dutch professional cyclist who rides for the UCI World Team. Let's see. Donaldson cyclocross, first road race wins. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So, yeah, he's in sports. This doesn't tell me, it tells me he's successful. It doesn't tell me much about his personality. There's not much about personality that goes into the fact that you win these competitions. Although I can tell you about his persistence. Not these sorts of rivalries. It's not very personality relevant. I'm gonna go look at an interview. Watch a little bit of this. Not long though.
Bike races for 30 years. That's the most extraordinary conclusion I've ever seen. I've never seen anything like this.
On April the 21st, 2019, cycling witnessed something nobody thought was possible.
Interesting.
The Amstel Gold Race is the biggest one-day race in the Netherlands and one of the hardest classes in the professional calendar. It covers 260 kilometers of narrow roads over the hills of Limburg.
Long and grueling.
It had been 18 years since they had a home winner, but in 2019, their hopes were high.
Te voorspellen. Mathieu van der Poel. Mathieu van der Poel is dit.
Mathieu van der Poel.
Dutch Mathieu van der Poel animated the spring classics like no other. The cyclocross star felt it was time to try road racing on a world tour level. He had accumulated 4 wins, but was yet to land a big one. He was looking to match the accomplishment of his father, Adrie van der Poel, when he
Interesting.
this race in 1990.
Okay. So there's a family connection. Right. A long-lasting tradition of cycling. So he's continued that tradition.
But going against his dad's instructions, Mathieu attacked from 43 kilometers out, which is a very long range. The vibrant young man couldn't sit back and wait any longer.
Vibrant young man. Okay.
Sometimes a little bit questionable.
Questionable tactics.
Cyclists wouldn't be able to make a similar effort later on in the race after burning that much energy.
He's coming back into the fold. That was ultimately unproductive.
His attack fell short, lasting only 6 minutes before the main group swallowed him up. His race was over, or so everyone thought. With him out of the equation, the experienced guys initiated their plans, ripping the race into several groups. At the front were Frenchmen Julien Alaphilippe and Jakob Fuglsang of Denmark, followed by multiple scattered chasers.
Fuglsang is giving just as much as Alaphilippe. Total cooperation between these riders.
One thing about classic races that is different from other bike races is that gaps are more difficult to close. A 10-second gap sometimes takes the cooperation of several competing parties to bridge, and you get riders that, no matter what, won't agree to work for the group, because for 99% of the time, when you do the work, you won't have anything left for the end. As the kilometers went by, it became more apparent to the leading duo that their breakaway was likely to make it. They were told they had a 1-minute lead over the main group, with only 3 kilometers remaining. With this comfortable advantage, Alaphilippe and Fuglsang turned their focus to one another.
Alaphilippe, they've got a little bit of time to play with. This is good riding by Fuglsang. Playing proper poker with each other.
They started playing cat and mouse, which slowed their pace significantly. To their surprise, this allowed one chaser to join them. Something was wrong.
Kwiatkowski's coming up pretty quickly. He's going to get there. Mia Kwiatkowski, he's going to finish too. Has he got any finish left in his legs? It has been a brave, brave chase.
And there came a moment when they looked over their shoulders, and there was Mathieu van der Poel.
Wow. So this is
You're probably wondering, how did he get there?
How did he get there?
First, the leading duo underestimated the chasers and chose to ignore them. Second, the teams and the broadcasters heavily relied on real-time GPS data, which is not always accurate. Later, everyone realized that the gap that was given to the riders and shown on TV did not actually reflect the situation on the ground. But none of this would have mattered had Van der Poel not decided to undertake one of the most epic pursuits you will ever see in professional cycling.
Now you see Van der Poel is making his bid for glory. He's got a lot to do to get on terms, but he wants to be involved.
It seemed like a desperate move at first, but then individual chasers hopped onto the train one after the other, despite the challenging tempo imposed by the Dutchman.
And as you see from a distance with maybe 6 or 7 K to go, you see this group of 8. You see this animal, Van der Poel, off the front. He is
Right.
They can't even pull through. Bob Mollema is on 8th wheel, and he's like swinging. He can't hold the wheel.
Right. So, all right. So what we're seeing here is that Van der Poel, he goes too far ahead, didn't pay off. He took a gamble, basically, went all out. Took a gamble, didn't work. And then, as he fell behind, he then went all out beyond anyone else. And they call him an animal because there's this idea that almost this force of will got him further and further ahead. That's quite something. Let's see what else we can see about Mathieu van der Poel. Brainy quotes, not. Here we go, try that. Right, there aren't any. What's this? Quotes of / impressions on Mathieu van der Poel. I can also try wiki quote. Suffered a lot. Totally made a mistake. I had to go for it, of course, but there was still a long way to go. I was reactive before part of the race. It's not revenge. It's interesting. So someone threw a bottle in his at him. We can't let this pass. It was a full water bottle. Hurt a lot. If I get that water bottle in my nose, it's broken. Hopefully the police can identify the man. There's be a trial. Attempted manslaughter. Oh, well, no. There's no such thing as attempted manslaughter, but okay. You said as action they will do it with the team. It's something different from throwing beer. Okay. So there's a certain, something's done to him that's quite serious, and it is serious in that circumstance. You go at that speed on the bicycle, and a water bottle's lobbed at you. You have every right to be pissed, but it's interesting how he does. Will take it up against him. There's no desire to drop the issue, which suggests he's not conflict averse. I mean, it sounds to me someone who puts in a lot to get to places. Let's see if there's anything else we can see of him. Maybe an interview. Probably in Dutch, but we shall see. Exclusive interview.
We're going to speak to somebody who's a pretty unique athlete. He's a generational talent. He's leading the world in this fantastic era that we've got in cycling. Please welcome Mathieu van der Poel. Well, Mathieu, welcome to Koblenz.
Thank you. Finally made it.
Yeah, and to have you here. Right then, since you signed with Canyon 6
Oh,
years
what's
ago,
this? Someone's recommended an interview. Okay, Chris, let's try this one. Right, I'll try this one.
This wasn't staged, by the way. Local fish and chips.
Hey, and you know the best thing is? At lunch, he left some of his sandwich because he wanted to walk and sport and eat healthy, and now I see him here eating fish and chips.
He didn't want to get found out,
Yeah.
did he? Can I have one of your chips?
Yes.
Nice.
No.
You left it. Oh, they're quite nice.
Scotland is nice if the sun is out.
You've been really lucky with the weather, actually.
Yeah, for
well,
sure.
apart from in the road race,
Yeah.
of course. But
Road race was really good. Was just a few laps.
so I know you won, but what did you actually think of the circuit?
Yeah, it was.
What's this?
Special. I think it's something we are not really used to. Of course, I did European Championships.
Yeah.
It was almost the same, but that was only on a circuit, so not even the running. But it was also one of the toughest races I did, and I think this race again was like you said, if you see the time gap and the faces of everybody crossing the finish line, I think it was a really demanding course. But yeah, with good legs, it's nice, of course, because it was so hard and it was quite an honest course as well. So for me, it was not that bad. Of course, I like some technical stuff, but maybe there were a bit too much.
27?
Yeah, there were maybe a bit too much corners, but
No, 35, I think, on the circuit.
no, the thing is, it's quite okay, but if you have a puncture or some bad luck, the race is over, and on a day like this, it's quite hard to take. But aside from the crash, I stayed out of trouble the whole day, so that was quite good.
Did you find it stressful? Because it looked like it was really,
No,
as well as energy demanding. It was
quite okay, because the thing is, it was stressful to get in front, but once you were there, it was quite easy to maintain a position. But it's like I said, if you were stuck behind the crash or you had a flat tire and then coming back or being a bit too far, then it's just basically sprinting from corner to corner.
Now, I was in a cafe watching you on a screen with a lot of Belgian fans, and then when you crashed,
Also, the way he speaks about this, just sprinting corner to corner. Once, if it's stress to begin with, when you get ahead, you can maintain your position.
but
It's something I saw it afterwards, but
It does talk about this almost battles to be overcome.
Yeah, for me it was also a super strange moment, because all of a sudden I was on the ground in the barriers, and I knew it was not necessary to take any risk, so I was not doing something else that I did the laps before, and still, both wheels just started slipping away, and there was nothing I could do to hold it.
And what about when you carried on? At what point did you notice that your bow had gone?
At the bow, I noticed immediately, but yeah, sometimes you can get it back on the shoe.
Yeah.
Now it was completely broken off. Yeah, this was quite annoying, but the bigger problem was the cleat underneath was halfway gone, and it was really difficult to stay in my pedal because I only had basically one side that I could stick into the pedal, so I had to stabilize my own leg as well.
God.
So this was the hardest.
And he still won.
Yeah, for a whole lap and a half, wasn't it?
Yeah, in the end, for sure. Also, adrenaline took over a bit maybe at the moment, but yeah, I would have preferred to not crash and stay on the bike because I was feeling really good still then.
I'll tell you what. Let's just stop and have a look at that. That's proper Scotland, mate.
It's beautiful.
It is really, really lovely, mate. And when you think about like what you've achieved already in your,
He's not really giving it that much
weird.
attention.
I want to get to my age, mate. But Scotland will always be a special place when, regardless of what's happening in the mountain, what happens in the mountain bike.
Yeah.
Scotland will be. That was an incredible victory. It really was.
For sure, and have zero to none expectations, to be honest, for the mountain bike race. I decided in La Plagne that I would give it a try, but in my head, only the road race counted, and I was only on my mind was only the road race, to be honest. So this is just, I will see how it goes, and if it goes well, it's nice. If it doesn't go well, it's not even a disappointment because I don't really expect anything. It's been a long time since I've been on the mountain bike, so it's just.
He says, "I'm not interested in this. I'm interested in this. This is what I want to go for." So it isn't a do as good as your job as you can, no matter. I don't think he's Delta ST. I don't think he's Alpha SF.
It's not a punishment.
I think he's extrovert sensation valuing.
Well, as you can be going into such a big event. I know deep down you want to win it, but maybe you must be reasonably relaxed.
Yeah, I'm super relaxed, of course, but I think winning is not really realistic. I think I should just aim for the legs and the shape is here, but I should just aim for a really steady race and try to do my best. Try to blow myself or anything to try to follow somebody.
That's the opposite of what I just said before.
Because you're a racer.
I've gotten smarter. I've got smarter through the years, so that's maybe my benefit.
That's not how he normally is. That's an adjustment.
Like you said, it's just I'm super relaxed, and maybe the biggest target of the year has succeeded now on Sunday, and I try to enjoy myself. I noticed already how much I miss the mountain bike sport just to ride some trails. That's already amazing, and we will see how it goes on Saturday.
When you look at the modern era of racing, how fast it is, how aggressive it is, you're one of the top riders who's shaping racing. To me, that course seemed to fit this current era of racing. Would you agree?
Yeah, for sure. Like I remember,
so he's shaped it. He's always made it faster and more aggressive. I think if he's speak to Isaac, if he is a gamma extrovert, I'm leaning more SCE.
I think one of the first guys to start attacking from far away, which was maybe 60, 70 kilometers to go back then.
See how he walks. He has a sort of.
The circuit, it's 150k to go, and
it's a bit of a swagger in how he walks as well.
Yeah, for the spectators, I think it's really nice. I get a lot of messages as well from friends, family, and people on social media. Like it's for them, they say it's even difficult to go to the.
Don't go for the gifts. I need that.
They don't want to miss anything of the race anymore,
and the key to him is he goes more aggressively than anyone else.
Yeah, I like to just go.
Yeah, the very matter-of-fact delivery.
Everybody's and that makes it super hard, but also I think super fun to watch.
I agree. But I was chatting to Ben Healy from the Irish team the other day, and he said that the key point for him was getting a lead out just to get to the kit. And he said that Sam Bennett and Ryan Mullins said he got me a lead out, but the 104.
But that's the problem. It's like 200 guys want to do the same thing, and it's not possible. So yeah, it's a big fight always for positioning, but yeah, that's part of cycling.
We're going to go to some of that bench. I've got some gifts for you.
Gifts.
No, don't need to watch the gifts. Right. Okay. That's I think revealing. I'm sure we said about this. It's a different sort of environment.
Matt was laughing in the background because of what you did, because we didn't expect the finish that we had. And I just remember saying, I don't believe I've seen anything like this in my life. And I hadn't. How did you live that day? What memories do you have of that day?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, for sure it was very special because it was also my first year. I did the road and also in Tour of Flanders already with the crash.
You were quite a going downhill,
and I came up fourth that year. So I knew I was feeling good, and then Amstel was my last race actually of the year, and I was a bit too excited. Maybe I started
Looking for a bit more. It's a bit more. It's interesting, yes, how he's switched between different aspects of cycling, and he took on mountain biking. Just
and the end,
I think it was mountain took on just one, trying it the first time.
And then everything came together. The last kilometer actually, and nobody wanted to really work anymore. So I just went all in and I closed the gap myself and just started sprinting, and somehow I managed to win the race. So for sure that was a bit the breakthrough for the bigger audience.
Yeah, I think, and we'll go on to the off-road in a while. I think all cycling fans and connoisseurs knew who you were, family ties, everything you've done on the cross field. But for the general public audience who maybe is sitting there on the sofa on a Sunday afternoon, switches the television on, oh God, who's this Mathieu van der Poel, guys?
World champion.
Special. You talk about sort of attacking from 80 Ks to go now. Do you feel a bit of a trendsetter in that?
Yeah, I think I can say that I'm one of the first guy who started it, and now I'm
Dutch
not
private
any,
jet company flying group.
in Glasgow.
Voice, but flying private was critical for sport and performance.
A bit shocked. I didn't understand, but
yeah,
in the end, for me, the harder the race, the better. So I'm actually quite happy we race the way we do. And you also can see if you talk to people, and everybody's really into cycling now, and they're scared to miss any attacks. Like if you start watching 100K to go, you could have missed already a decisive move. So that's nice to hear, of course.
If you read the Belgian or Dutch press last year, they were talking, there was one word, anticipator.
Yeah.
And they were all trying to get ahead of you. Everybody wanted to anticipate.
Limited. I'll see if there's anything else.
Passion that you've set for racing.
Oh yeah, I think also early breakaway is like something that sometimes doesn't even exist anymore. It's just we start racing from kilometer 0 and we stop after 260K sometimes. So that's quite
Dutch but born in Belgium.
They go fast, and I like it.
That day in Amstel, I remember those words, and I remember you holding your head across the line like that, like almost not believing what you'd done.
No, but also, I didn't think I was actually pulling the group because I was aiming for maybe a top 10, maybe a top 5, but then the last stretch is quite long in Amstel, and all of a sudden I saw I could still maybe win it. So also for me was until 1K to go, I didn't know I could still win the race. So it was for me also quite difficult to believe.
That little moment of adrenaline where it felt to me like you just dressed in orange scored the winning goal in the World Cup final, because the noise at the finish line was like nothing I've ever heard in my life before. Were you conscious? Could you take that in, or were you just lost in the moment?
So
no, I was a bit lost in the moment. Of course, I was.
Yeah, he's a late bloomer in mode.
Pretty deep, so I
Didn't they say that genetics is a key aspect of his success? I mean, no doubt about that. Plus, that ability to sort of take risks and then actually just go all out beyond anyone else is also quite something.
Scoring a winning goal, so in the moment itself, you don't really.
Thank you, Kelpie.
Yeah, you don't really appreciate it. Is maybe the wrong word, but you don't really know what's really going on. But then afterwards, if you see the images, it gives me goosebumps as well.
Where does that victory rank for you?
Crashed out of the XCO race, took a break, suffering back issues. Okay.
It's super difficult.
It's unsurprising. You go that full on, you can end up getting some issues physically.
Yeah, they all mean something different, of course, and some are bigger than others for sure. But I think winning in the national jersey is the only big classic race that's left in the Netherlands. And also, yeah,
as when he speaks, as a matter of fact, it's very about what he's doing. It's very grounded in his practical experiences.
Are talking about it again, so yeah, it means it was quite a big victory. Of course, I think it's in the minds of probably everybody here. I would imagine if you followed cycling since 2019 and 5 years ago now, I can't believe it. No, time goes so fast. I always felt young, but now I see guys coming into cycling 18, 19 years old, winning immediately, and I'm 10 years older, so but I still believe I have my best years to come.
The making of Mathieu van der Poel.
You just signed a 10-year contract.
See what this is about. Forged his own path to the top of cycling, right? Football tells that he did almost everything. He was someone who likes to do a lot of sports. Play football and going to be a cyclist. Season as he started, now you're going to tell him yourself he don't want to play football anymore. So is what he did. Right. So this idea of going in and competing across a number of different sports is key to him. As though he was studying, and besides that, it was a bicycle and nothing else. Okay, so there's an idea of developing expertise in this area as well, which is coming across. It's not just training; it's also studying. Never forced him to sport. Okay, I never pushed him or supported him. There's a sense of quite sort of tight-knit familial relationships as well here. Morning, had breakfast. We tried to ride the bike for an hour. If that's okay, then he would start, put on the bike, start pedaling, and start the next stage. There's no stopping him. Such as independence, if he's able to use his own supplement supplier, and some influence over the riders the team signals to. He do what he likes, it is organized for him. He likes to go a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, and that's good for him. When he's not happy, they ask him what the problem is and they let him change the program. Besides everything, they try to make everyone happy. Okay. Interesting. That's one of the best riders in the world. Shies away from the limelight. He's not an SLE. We know this. Doesn't like people talking or writing about him. Leave me alone. Don't have any opinions on him. Whenever you have an opinion of him, he doesn't like them. He's a guy, but you never get really close to him. Probably his girlfriend does, but we don't. Even Christoph, who's always with him, says it's hard to manage him, to make him understand things. He's listening now, listening more to the people around him. Yeah. Okay. I'm pretty sure he's a gamma. I'm pretty sure he's a gamma. Out of the gammas, which ones? I think extrovert sensation is a big aspect for him. It sounds to me there's quite a bit of discernment as well, and very sort of there's some very tight-knit relationships, but other people outside of it doesn't really want talking about him, having much to do with him. He'd rather be left to his own devices. He likes his independence. He likes taking on new things. I'm inclined to think he's an SEE. From the sound of it. Quiet confidence. Know who he was. He was going to with quite his friends after that trip. Until a few months later, we became a couple. He keeps this part of his life very far away from the press. His dad, he was popular at school. He was loved by the rest of his class. Okay, here we go. Right, this is the thing. SEEs, when they are early in their lives, they're in their demonstrative function. They are actually people pleasers. they stop being people pleasers as they start to develop their expertise. And they start to feel more empowered to be independently successful, and then they stop with the sort of social interactions, which they feel are unimportant, and then it becomes more about the close connections, but also about, okay, what am I achieving? How I can take things on, and how much do I actually need people anymore in this? Um, it's quite friendly. Everything he did was in a good way. He's not acting like a leader, telling us what to do. He's never someone who pushed other riders to do something. It's more natural than that, and he matured with the team into fast cars, video. He's not shallow. He's not more generation. Okay, and that's a different person, right? Personality is much more interesting. Van Aert is more interesting. His opinion on many things. That's the thing. Matteo isn't intuitive. I think he doesn't have a very broad range of interests. It's very grounded, physical, and what he can take over. I think SCE makes a lot of sense for Matteo. I think I've seen enough. Um, yeah, I hope that helps. I think SCE for Matteo van der Poel. Who's next? Let me see. $9.99 from KLP, and I believe she then gave the extra $1.99. Thank you very much. All right, I'll definitely prioritize Doug Wilson. Okay, based on the CNN Interesting Times interviews. Let's take a look. Doug Wilson. Is this the theologian? Let's see. Interesting Times. Let's see. Is that it? So which Doug Wilson? I'm gonna use Google to okay, Doug Wilson, Interesting Times. Yeah, okay. Interesting Times, evangelical pastor, and self-proclaimed Christian nationalist Doug Wilson. Okay, it is the same person then. Good. Right. What can we say about Doug Wilson? The theologian. Okay, he's an American conservative, reformed evangelical Christian theologian, pastor at Christ Church in Moscow, Idaho. It's funny how in America there's cities named after everywhere else. Let's see. Christian education for reformed theology, type proponent of post-millennialism, Christian nationalism. Lots of isms here. Lots and lots of isms. Ism. Featured in the documentary film Collision, documenting his debates with new atheist author Christopher Hitchens, the promotional tour for the book Is Christianity Good for the World? Theology. He advocates Van Tillian prepositional apologetics, short of people's suppositionalism. It's an epistemological school of Christian apologetics that examines the presuppositions on which worldviews are based and invites comparison and contrast between the results. Okay, right, that's interesting. So it's going down to the basic assumptions that people are making in building up their view. Based on the central tenet that the Christian must at all times presuppose the supernatural revelation of the Bible as the ultimate arbiter of truth and error in order to know anything. This is the idea you need to accept this fundamental axiom in order to know anything. That's very introverted logic. Very introverted logic. He holds to a view of Christian eschatology as post-millennialism. Post-millennialism, right. A messianic age coming after the millennium. Okay. Definitely idea that there's some sort of destiny, some sort of outcome. And the question is this unusual for a Christian pastor? Does he take this further than what you'd normally expect? Biblical patriarchy. Because wives should submit to their husbands, that leadership roles in the church be restricted to men. Okay. There's an idea of, you could maybe call it hierarchy. He's clearly a socially conservative person. As husband, as federal head, assumes responsibility for his wife's spiritual condition. Okay, and so you could say that men and women have different roles. If you look at, say, Judaism, often say they just have different roles, not necessarily a hierarchy. But he's actually saying there's a federal head. There's a sort of a higher aspect with greater responsibility as a result. Embrace the term Christian nationalist because it's better than the other names he gets called. He's not a white nationalist. He's not a fascist. Not a racist. He's not a misogynist. And those names that usually get thrown at him. And then someone says it was Christian nationalism. He can work with that. Calls the United States a backslidden Christian republic. That's interesting. But there's some sort of thing it needs to be, and it's slid back from that thing it needs to be. He's controversial. Well, surprise, surprise. His pamphlet, Southern Slavery as It Was, he co-wrote with Christian minister Stephen Wilkins. Slavery produced in the South a genuine affection between the races, we believe we can say has never existed in any nation before the war. Okay, I can see why that would be controversial. I mean, the question is this: is there any evidence for him not being an LSI? Let's see. I don't want to just assume he's LSI. Let's test that hypothesis. Oh, here we go. When not to apologize. Interesting. Stop making God angry. Let's watch this interview.
You are, in your own distinctive way, very online and speaking some of the language of that world. I just wrote down a few: lumberjack dykes, small-breasted biddies, gay-tard.
Yes. Do you want me to defend it?
Okay. He says, yeah. He says provocative things.
Mr. Douglas Wilson doesn't seem to mind if you call him a theocrat.
I'd like to see the nation be a Christian nation. I like to see the world be a Christian world.
He wants a society that acknowledges Jesus' authority over politics.
Marriage and the family were created by God, by the Supreme Being, not by the Supreme Court.
And patriarchal authority in the home.
Wives look up to their husbands as the church does to Christ.
Is he just being hyped by his...
There's a theme here. It's not ideology, but also hierarchies of authority as a key aspect to his ideology. And he's the sort of guy who says what he thinks. He doesn't, he'll say things in a sort of sometimes quite sort of derogatory way. Burn whatever bridges you need to burn. Effing bridge.
Welcome to interesting times.
Okay.
Thanks for having me.
So we're going to try and talk about...
Oh, he's a Calvinist. Well,
things.
Yeah.
Obviously, your vision for America as a Christian nation.
Calvinism, out of all the different kinds of Protestantism, Calvinism is the most radical.
Theological beliefs, because I thought it would be helpful to ground the audience.
No Quaker here.
Politics. And also, I'm just interested.
No Lutheran either.
So let's start off with a pretty basic question. We are both Christians.
Right.
I'm a Roman Catholic. You are a evangelical Protestant, but specifically a Reformed evangelical.
Right. Presbyterian.
Calvinist.
Yeah.
Calvinist would be all that, right?
All that.
So our traditions have had some pretty sharp differences in the past, like wars of religion.
Right. That's happened.
All that. So I am aligned to all of these things. It's a categorical thing.
Serious eternal stakes involved, right? That respectively Catholics.
Contrast of measured language of the interviewer with him. He doesn't measure his language.
So, simple question. Do you think I'm going to hell?
That's not my job.
I know. It's not your job to know.
Right.
That's true.
So let me put the reframe the question and then answer it straight up. I believe that there are many Roman Catholics.
I see how he
saved and going.
He doesn't.
So
he doesn't wade into. Say that's not my job. It's like, this is not my protocol for how I do things. It's not a. He's not compromising anything by trying to make himself sound nicer or say he's going to go to hell. He just said that's not my job. I'm not in. That's not a box I'm in.
Salvation is the gift of God.
And he sets out his beliefs.
He bestows it. When he does that, the fruit of the Spirit is the result. So there are Roman Catholics with whom I can fellowship with as brothers in Christ, and there are people who are just in an alien world from me. So that doesn't answer the question about you and me, because we just met, right? But
okay.
But
that's fair.
So he's not being categorical in terms of all Catholics need to go to hell or anything like that. He's not that controversial.
God is the one who makes that determination. If we're to be saved, he's going to have to do all the saving. So the illustration I like to give is, if you died and went up to heaven and St. Peter had a desk there with a justification by faith alone test, gave you a pencil and said, here, take the test, and you need to get 100 on the test and we'll let you into heaven. If the way you pass the test is you look at the paid test and you look at the pencil, and then you give the pencil back, and he says, very good. It's not test taking, it's not works of the law, and it's not doctrinal works of the law,
right,
either.
So what is it?
It's Christ. Christ is our salvation. Abandon yourself, drop it, let go of yourself, turn away from sin and self and all the me,
right,
and look to Christ.
But when you do that, what you're really saying, I think, right, is that all you can advise people to do is to try and come to a deeper awareness of something that God has decided for them.
Correct. Now, but when God decides things like that, God is not a muscle-bound Zeus, like a Calvinist Zeus in the upper reaches of the cosmos, making people do stuff. A Calvinist Zeus would be problematic. He'd be a bully. And so when God determines who's saved and who not, and God determines who turns left and who turns right, in him we live and move and have our being. And so God can do that without turning us into puppets. And that's the charge against Calvinists, is that they have a muscle-bound Zeus who's pulling the puppet strings. But I don't think of that way at all.
Well, that's one charge against Calvinists, right? But a different one would be that, that you have a God who is creating human beings as characters in a larger story that he's telling, which is something that I personally believe, right? But who is also creating people who will do terrible things, creating people who will be damned.
Yes.
Right? And so the common critique against Calvinism is, doesn't this God, whether or not he's a nightclub bouncer or Zeus or anything like that, right? But isn't it a pretty harsh thing to do, to sit down and create characters in a story who are going to go to hell?
Correct. I would say not harsh, but it's certainly hard, right? It's Paul says in Romans, behold the kindness and severity of God.
So
God is
trying to sort of square the circle here of, it's some people's destinies to go to hell, at the same time as making clear it's not as though God is pulling the strings and is taking away people's free will. They have free will, but they're also predestined.
God draws straight with crooked lines. God is so powerful that he can create a narrative, a story, in which creatures rebel against him, and they are responsible for that rebellion. And God is in complete control of the whole thing.
But why not pull them back? Like just to take an alternative theory.
There's all sorts of free will, determinism, predestination.
Opportunities for repentance, moments when grace is offered.
Right.
And if they refuse grace, then yes, God is, as you say, severe and allows them to make that refusal, and maybe be damned eternally because of it. Right. But there is opportunity, a path that is open for every human being, even the people who might end up in hell.
So we live in one
of a screwed up world. Right? There are horrendous things going on right this second, right this minute, all over the globe. There are kids being abused. There are people being trafficked. There are wars erupting. There are rapes. There are murders.
Okay.
You know,
Sounded a little bit Hobbesian here.
Reasonable sophomore would say, and who put it here? Who's responsible for all this? I mean, ultimately, fundamentally,
problem of evil.
Well, the answer is God. Basically, there's no slipping off the point. All Orthodox Christians are stuck. Basically,
you can't believe that God controls everyone, because otherwise all this evil stuff is happening, and if he's responsible for this, then it's terrible. So clearly, people have to be responsible. Okay.
So we justify him. He's not in control.
Yeah.
But every Orthodox Christian believes that God's in control and decided to create the world with all of its
So what we're seeing, the way this conversation has gone, is he maximizes as much as is feasible and reasonable the idea of people being predestined for hell, whichever way that is, but without going into the issues of saying that, okay, well, they have no choice and therefore God is responsible. And he doesn't allow it to cross over into that territory. So there is a sense of the categorical, there's a sense of this is predestined, but also not reaching the contradiction, therefore God must be evil and becoming a Gnostic. So, yeah, okay.
There are many things that we could do would simply go upstream and deal with sort of...
See how sort of calming and sort of straightforward he is in his communication?
Issues.
There's a good amount of introverted sensation in the background there.
Shared assets, car payments, and alimony.
There's no nervous energy with him.
Fornication, or as the kids call it, premarital sex, right? You have two college students
who mouth twitch was that?
Fornication. You're not going to have one, pay alimony to the other. What does the law do about that?
Actually, earlier when you asked me adultery and fornication, what I wanted to do is split the two, because adultery, they're not.
Adultery is worse than fornication.
Adultery is far.
Even the nature of this conversation is very introverted logic. It's like, this is your framing how everything fits together. So what are the problems here with that? And you have to now make sense of it within your framework. It's very framework based already. Maybe we can step out of a religious debate, see what else we can see. Them apples. What's that about?
So I say to the world and those within the evangelical who want to accommodate them, that slapping some dame around is your gig, not ours. This particular steak is coming from somewhere else. The dog poo was tracked in here by accommodation shoes, not holiness shoes. This generation is offering up all their bent yearnings to Cloacina, the goddess of sewers. Some of us who think that things could be healthier around here,
he doesn't hold back, does he?
Have naturally drawn the ire of those who don't want to recognize where the real is.
And this is where the real problem is. And there's all okay. He must be LSI. I'm not sure what else he's going to be, to be honest. What else can we see? Just to be sure. So when you read Wikipedia, you get like a short bio. I mean, every single controversial thing they did, because who writes Wikipedia? Okay. Yeah, we know controversies. We know that. Okay. Yeah, of course it's going to be controversial given what he said. But what else is there? Anything else? Let's look at some quotes. This is not the same person. No, this is not the same person. No. Let's find the right one. Right. Ah. That's the same guy. A great Reformation revival, it will happen the same way the early Christians conquered Rome. Their program of conquest consisted largely of two elements: gospel preaching and being eaten by lions. The strategy has not yet captured the imagination. It's so beta. Become the kind of person you would like to marry. The kind of person you'd like to marry. Okay. A man penetrates, conquers, colonizes plants, a woman receives, surrenders. Yeah, dichotomies. I saw something about masculinity is a glad assumption of sacrificial responsibility. Okay. I believe firmly in plodding. Productivity is more a matter of diligent long distance hiking that is 100-yard dashing. Doing a little bit now is far better than hoping to do a lot on the morrow. See, this is the introverted sensing in the background for him. He isn't like the Matteo Van der Poel, where you go for the big sprint. He is plodding. It's more of an introverted approach to sensation. Ripping up carpet is easy, tiling is the issue. Okay. Education is the process of selling someone on books. How beta can that be? Yeah, I'm sorry. Ellis High. I don't think he could be anything else. What's next? Who's next? Darwin has asked me to type Roland Orzabal. Thank you for $10, Darwin, from Tears for Fears. Okay. Roland Jamie Orzabal de la Quintana is an English musician, singer, songwriter, record producer, and author. Guitarist, co-lead vocalist. Only constant member of Tears for Fears. Okay, it's interesting. So Tears for Fears really he is the constant member of it. Now, why? Is it because he started it? Or because he's the only one who's hung around the whole time? Okay. Formed by Kurt Smith and Roland Orzabal. First band, the Mod Influence graduate. Met teenagers. History of headaches. And an acrimonious falling out and parted company on 21. Then Orzabal's perfectionist approach to production and delays caused by Smith's jet-setting lifestyle allowed to slow down the pace of her work. Okay, so Orzabal is the perfectionist. And didn't like the whole jet setting. Guitars, keyboards, lead. Bass, keyboards, lead. Okay. Right, what else can we say about him? Orzabal in 2007. He wrote Mad World, really? Very good. Yes. After Margaret Thatcher's continued tenure as Prime Minister, Orzabal took an interest in socialism and her attitude towards the working class. Associates of love, politician granny with your high ideals, have you no idea how the majority feels? Hmm. You see some quotes like Roland Orzabal. Once you start enjoying your life, the rest is easy. This is the time to find both success when your success is not a major part of your personality. Interesting. Especially for you, I never met you. The most gratifying thing, with no questions, making records. Passion doesn't bother me that much, to be quite honest. Internet makes it easy to find good music, I would have to say. So he's a perfectionist in his work, but there's sort of a chill outside of that, and the sound of it. Let's see what else we can find. Listen to a bit of music. Which one's good? Ticket to the World. Let's try that one. I was just that. I can look at some of his themes. Go the bottom bit. All right. Hmm. Not giving me themes. I'm gonna look at that. Oh, AI is helping. So it's themes of psychological trauma, childhood pain, the hurting is concept out of centered on child abuse, psychological trauma, and depression, drawing from primal therapy concepts, such like mad world and ideas as opiates. Oh goodness, yes, primal therapy, reliving repressed childhood pain and ego's role in suppressing this pain. Sociopolitical themes, power and control. Everyone wants to rule the world. Political disillusionment, sowing the seeds of love. Okay, yeah, this isn't very alpha. Primal therapy. What is that? You should re-experience pain, right? You're schooled by repressed pain. You got to re-experience the pain to heal. It's not accepted in the field of psychology. There's lack of controlled outcome trials. Therapy to his death. Therapy is still by a few clinicians worldwide. Imprinted pain. Okay, so the idea that the songs are a means of reliving past traumas. Let's look at some of the cover art as well. Okay, I'm more wondering about a sort of beta and F figure here, because the idea that the music is not it's not feel good. It's designed to bring about some sort of profound transformation in the listener as a result of sort of deep internal reflection. All right. Okay. Tomcat screaming outside. Interesting. Okay. There's some hitting the culture. Bullets for brains. That's a good one. Yeah. The music is sort of eerie. It's emotive but eerie. There's a sense of a feeling or emotion or certainly a mood or vibe being conveyed in the music. It's not relationship driven. It's more about some sort of feeling which goes with some sort of then deeper healing process. That he is the only constant member suggests that he has had the most thematic influence over how the Tears of Fears band has developed in terms of its themes. Let's look at an interview of Roland or Orzabal. Oh, advice for young artists. It's a bit, talks about his dad. Okay, interesting. Well, that's important given his idea of the past.
Was from. He's no longer with us. He was French. He was born in Paris. He was a Parisian, and I mean, he unfortunately he didn't speak French in the home. I picked it up from school, but I learned the intonation from him. Because he would sort of say things like, "Roland, make me some coffee," and that was kind of what I get used to the sound. And also, we were when we were with him, because my parents split up when I was about 7. when we were with him, it was quite interesting because
gentle tones in his voice.
We were in sort of time, and a lot of, I mean, his culture, I think, was really much the atmosphere in the home. And coffee, it was coffee, it wasn't tea. Okay, and it was things like that. And that time felt more cyclical.
Time felt more cyclical and fluid. What does that mean?
Split up, my mother sort of took us away one morning when Dad was asleep to stay with our cousins, her sister.
Just for the record, if anyone says time felt more cyclical, almost certainly a beta and F.
It's really fun because it was a big shock to me, because I was so used to how we did things at home, and all of a sudden there was this rigidity. And at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock there was afternoon tea, and then in the morning you got up, you did this and did that, blah blah blah. It was incredible, and that was like, wow, the difference I felt all of a sudden being thrust into a very orthodox English way of doing things.
Sort of being thrust into, and the difference and the impression on him and how he felt about that. What else can we see of him? Oh, a biography. How useful. Thank you for the biography. Thank you. Some skits and other bits.
Got the name Raoul from his father, George Oswald de la Quintana. The name had been in the family for generations. George was a Frenchman, though his father was Argentine. 2 weeks after Raoul's birth, his mother, Margaret Oswald de la Quintana, renamed him Roland, since it was an easier name for English speakers to pronounce. George and Margaret owned an entertainment business, and their home was always...
Look at those eyes, like,
George was quite
sort of spacey.
Part of a mandolin orchestra. And yes, apparently mandolin orchestras are a thing which exists.
That's quite cool.
The family lived in Havant, a town in the southeast corner of Hampshire, England. So Roland grew up in a creative home, though he always had a strained relationship with his father.
Yes, you can see that from the get me some coffee.
One morning when George was asleep, Margaret left quietly, taking her children with her. Hence, Roland ended up in a much more regimented household with his cousins and aunts, where afternoon tea was strictly at 4 and mornings were routine. He had lost the fluidity and French culture of his old home and struggled with this change.
Right.
It's really funny because it was a big shock to me.
That same thing.
Because I was so used to how we did things at home, and all of a sudden there was this rigidity. And at 3 o'clock or 4
now, there's something here about, I'm wondering if he also, just a hypothesis right now, if his music is a sort of way of him presenting himself as a victim of his past, and that his music is a process of healing from his past victimhood. If that's the case, then I makes a lot of sense. But let's see if that is the theme. That's just the hint I'm getting. Primal Scream.
Attending Culver Hay School in Bath, that Ausable met Kurt Smith. They became close friends. The turn of events came when Ausable read The Primal Scream, written by notable psychologist Arthur Janoff. Janoff was quite influential at the time, and his works and theories had served as inspiration for John Lennon and other musical artists. The Primal Scream delved into neuroses rooted in childhood experiences and the suppression of feelings. Ausable connected with these ideas since he had a problem childhood. Kurt Smith also had parents who separated when he was young, and Ausable encouraged him to read The Primal Scream. While Ausable's family thought his obsession with the book was strange, Smith understood. During their college years, Ausable and Smith were part of a band called Graduate, who produced an album, Acting My Age, in 1980. The band was Beatlesque since they were emerging from a post-Beatles culture. They were inspired by other bands such as Talking Heads. The band broke up before completing their next album, Ambitions. From there, Ausable and Smith went on to form a band they initially dubbed History of Headaches, though they changed the name and became the influential, successful, new wave synth-pop band Tears for Fears. In 1982, Ausable married Carolyn Johnston. The first success of Tears for Fears came with their third single, Mad World. It charted as number 3 in the UK. In 1983, they released their first album,
Claudia G and
felt that their debut album
Black Pie. I'm doing typings for $10 and up.
Album, Songs from the Big Chair, remained high on
$10
the
and up.
charts for a year.
I think everything I said was important. I'm meeting people around America. That the hurting means a lot to a lot of people. I'm quite surprised. A lot of people think the hurting's great. Think this Songs from the Big Chairs and it's good.
On tour, after playing for over 3 months, Tears for Fears were performing a gig in Kansas. With their recent album charting at #1, they were at the top of the pop world. After the gig, they went to a bar where they had to pay $1.50 to get in because a woman called Alita Adams was playing. Adams's emotional, artistic singing inspired Ausable and Smith.
She was singing, she was crying when she was singing, and we were sat at the bar crying.
In 1987, they invited her to be a singer and pianist on their next album, The Seeds of Love. The album took 3 years and over £1 million to produce.
See, there's another thing. He is a constant presence on Tears for Fears, but he's very much the conceptual creator of this. He's less of the front man, so to speak. It sounds like, that he's been this sort of a constant member rather than the one who goes off on his own. It's all if you look at, say, Freddie Mercury, he was the front man, right? The band were an accessory to Freddie Mercury, for Queen. For Tears for Fears, I don't get that impression that the band is bigger than the individual. So I get the impression the band is bigger than the individual rather than the individual bigger than the band. I'm thinking I. And there's so much emphasis on pain, and it's quite forlorn. I know Mad World is a very forlorn song. That's the song I know from Tears for Fears. It is forlorn. It is, yeah. Think about who would write Mad World. It would be an II. Now, did he write all these songs? Just to be absolutely sure. Let me see. Mad World. Yep. That is like the most well-known song. Written when Oswald's 19. Right. Yep. Oswald. He must be IEI. Thanks, Blackfire. Thanks, Claudia. Greatly appreciated. Right. Okay. So yeah, I think IEI for Orzabal. I can't see what it's. I think it's quite a clear IEI here. Okay, who's next? I think that Claudia is next. Thank you, Claudia. And HG Tudor. All right, let's look at HG Tudor. Oh, this one. Henry Hugh. No, that's probably not the right one. I'm gonna HG Tudor. Knowing the Narcissist. Oh, is this it? An educational consultant in Norway. That definitely looks like an interesting subject. Thank you, Claudia. Learn about narcissism from the world's #1 source, a narcissist himself. Okay, very good. Let's take a look.
Well, I'm going to provide you with the central aspect of what narcissism is. This is going to touch on various other facets which are covered in other aspects of my work. And in a sense, there are different avenues one can go down to explain how the narcissism works, how the narcissist regards the behavior, how the narcissist is functioning. But that is covered in additional work. The purpose of this is to help you understand what narcissism actually is. Now, the useful starting point would actually be Let me tell you what narcissism is not. Narcissism is not an alien life form. Certainly, many of the behaviors that we engage in see.
Okay. So this is a guy who's created the channel talking about narcissism, where he himself, according to him, is a narcissist. That is quite narcissistic. Of course, a narcissist would do this. Was this created playlists? H.G. Tudor. Knowing the narcissist.
Me for another analysis of the key character for.
This isn't his natural voice. He's putting on this voice. Right.
Down and
I don't know. Kim Wexler's a narcissist? I'm not sure about that.
Seahorn. Meg is one of the most complex, compelling characters in the Breaking Bad universe. Introduced as a competent and ethical lawyer, Hamlin McGill.
I don't know.
Kim's arc spans from a stable.
Howard Hamlin is I don't think Howard Hamlin's actually a narcissist either. I'm not sure about this. Yeah, I don't. I'm not on board with some of these diagnoses. But okay. What else can you say about this person? Okay, here has narc site. What's narc site? Let's pause that for a second. No. Knowing the narcissist. The books. UK book menu. World renowned is the world renowned authority on narcissism, a prolific author, more than 40 books and programs. Narcissistic psychopath has extensive insight in every aspect of dealing with narcissist. Myths and falsehoods will be extinguished and replaced with pure logic defenses. Pure logic defenses. You'll learn your role in each type of relationship with a narcissist to find detailed information. In books. Consultations. Oh, you can do consultations. Interesting. And the key thing is this. These are audio and they are email consultations. You won't see his face. Access the video vault. Oh. 10 famous empaths. Something else does not. Crying game. Okay. It's compelling, isn't it? Sort of this sort of hidden figure who presents himself as this, and you have to those things. Formal info. Let's see. Disclaimer. What's the disclaimer? No warranty is given or implied that the material published here is intended to act as therapeutic, psychological, or psychiatric advice. This is not someone who's approaching things from expertise. This is someone who is presenting themselves in this way, and almost the mystique of it draws you in. I'm inclined to think this person is an EIE. I think this person probably is an EIE. How to co-parent with a narcissist. Is divorcing narcissist what to expect? $100 for comprehensive assistance package. Like, how do you know this person's a narcissist? We don't know, except that it's sort of narcissistic to be doing this. It's making good money as well, I imagine. Is there a company knowing the? Let's see, he's on Company's House. I'm assuming British, right? No, not a limited company. Is there anything else we can find this person? I'm assuming we won't find out who this person actually is. I mean, look, I'm not 100% sure. I can't see this person actually talking. You've got his voice recorder, he's putting on a fake voice. I think it's an EIE, Claudia. I'm not sure what else he'd be. Assuming it is he, could be she, but I think it's a he. The point is, he has created this channel and he enjoys people thinking he is this thing, and then he's been as a secondary factor making money off of it. But it's the idea of being this thing, and people think, okay, we've got to talk to the narcissist, almost like a guru narcissist. It's about the emotional effect we're having on people by doing this and presenting himself in this sort of image. It's all image, it's all vibe. Let's see if let's see what he actually says. The dynamic with the narcissist. Oops. Let's fast forward a bit as well. Let me play back.
Hello, I'm Steve Tudor. This video is about the first emotional battle, the emotional scene. This is the first battle that you will face with the narcissist. Everything we do is regarded as a battle. It is a zero-sum game. What you lose, we gain.
Here's another thing. He speaks of narcissists as a projection of himself. He does not speak of narcissists in terms of how they may vary in many different ways. And I think that is a very clear thing. It's all about clarity. It's not about source integrity. This is saying how to deal with him rather than say to do with all narcissists.
Sorry, exception. But it's not the case. We are getting what we want. That is positive fuel in huge quantities. Control over you, the binding to draw you closer and closer to us. We will also be obtaining other aspects of prime aims, namely character traits and residual benefits, but it is control and fuel, which are the two most important aspects of prime aims. That is what we are gaining during seduction. You are made to feel like a king or queen, which will be deposed, usurped, headed, or defended. You will always pay for the golden period that you with. Our battle plans are drawn up when we ready ourselves to seduce you. Raise an orthodox approach, every battle is won before it is fought. Therefore, there is planning and calculation. The lesser of our plans do remain effective, but they operate through instinct, being reliant on operations of blunt weapon, not possessing.
He also presents them as sort of like a superhuman. It's like we are out to win. We will win. You will seduce you. We'll do this. We'll do that. Like vampires. You know, some fiction. It's like a fictional vampire, and he found a sort of psychological condition to call it a narcissism. I think he's an EIE. Right. Oh, what's this? There's an Andrew Gold interview video. We must take a look at this. Ah. Oh, I see. This is cool. Yeah, we must look at this very quick.
He operates with a sense of entitlement in the way that he conducts himself with people. He lacks accountability for his activities and before he with people, so he takes lots of to support the evidence of his narcissism, and he's manipulative.
So, H.G. Tudor, is Russell Brand a narcissist?
Yes.
What makes you think that?
A variety of factors. You may be aware that I did a detailed analysis, 16 or so parts about him. What causes me to reach that conclusion is that he operates with a sense of entitlement in the way that he conducts himself with people. He has an absence of emotional empathy.
Another thing I should say about EIEs. They don't like details undermining their presentation. So by hiding himself, not only is there a sense of, well, I can call myself a narcissist, not suffering social consequences, fine, but also a sense of you won't see all the little details on my face, or maybe my hair's a bit funny today, whatever else that could throw off the image I'm creating about myself. So he is very controlling over his image and risk averse in terms of what his image is, because he wants it to be this way and nothing to undermine that particular image, which again is quite in line with EIE.
Evidenced in the way that, for instance, he has treated people in the past, that often when he's talking, he doesn't listen to what's being said to him. He's very much set to send rather than receive. He lacks accountability for his activities. He's somebody that doesn't really define his relationships properly in the conventional sense. He's somebody who has freely admitted to telling lies. He's an individual that doesn't provide any meaningful emotional support to people. He doesn't address issues in his relationship in an appropriate form, various relationships that he's had. You only have to watch the footage that took place between him and his father when they boxed together to see the fractious nature of that relationship and a lot of where Russell Brand's behavior comes from. There's huge... Their narcissism is allowing them to say that as a means of getting accountability and using what has happened to them to manipulate whoever they're talking to in that particular moment. Now, I had a difficult childhood, but I use that in the terms of wanting pity from people. I don't want people's sympathy. I don't want pity. I tell people by way of enabling them to understand. Invariably, they express sympathy for what has happened to me. I'm not interested in that, but they do that because they've got emotional empathy, and they've been conditioned that when you hear about something horrible happening to a child, society's standard response is to say, "Oh, I'm sorry that happened to you."
Yeah. And we should as well remind those who don't know, because we're 10 minutes in, that you are, by your own admission, a narcissistic psychopath.
I am both by my own admission and diagnosis, yes.
Right, yes. Russell Brand, we talk about his childhood, and it was difficult and weird, and his dad took him for his first sexual experiences. It was all really hard. Yeah. Is the suggestion then that one is made a narcissist?
Well, you're created, as I mentioned earlier on. You have the genetic predisposition that comes from a relative. So those are the cake ingredients, if you will, and then you need to be popped into the oven at a particular temperature and for a period of time to be baked into the narcissist, and that's your lack of control environment. So let's, for example, Mr. Brand Senior, he passes on his genetic predisposition to young Russell, but Mum is able to bring him up without any difficulties whatsoever, even though Dad departs. He's not really exposed to...
See, he's informative, but it's not boring. It's not dry. He has sort of hooks in the language he uses to keep your attention.
A lack of control environment. Thus he has the cake ingredients, but it's not made into a cake. Thus he doesn't become an
analogy being used here as well.
Child might find themselves subjected to a lack of control environment. So, for instance, they don't have the genetic predisposition, but they witness both their parents being killed in a road traffic accident.
Here's an extra one. Andrew Gold, very obvious IEE, I should say. All right, yeah, Claudia, I think EIE. I think that's that clear. At least from what we are able to be given about this person. Who's next? Okay, so as I said, I'll prioritize the highest amount donated, which is ANC3D, who's donated $11. Thank you very much. So I'll go with that one first. Colonel Harland Sanders. All right. Ah. So it's the real life story of Colonel Harland Sanders.
This is Colonel Sanders' crazy real life story. Creating the juggernaut that is KFC wasn't the only fascinating thing he did. Here's the man behind the 11 herbs and spices and that iconic white suit. According to a profile in the New Yorker from 1970, Harlan Sanders had a hard go of it from a young age. Following his birth outside Indiana in 1890, he was raised by an ultra-religious mother who taught him that alcohol, tobacco, coffee, and playing cards were all equally poisonous. After his mother got married, and wasn't so keen on the idea of stepchildren. So starting at the age of 12, Sanders had to go make his own way in the world. He worked on a farm while going to school, and when that got too hard, he quit school just 2 weeks into 7th grade. Over the next 3 decades of his life, he worked as a streetcar conductor and railroad fireman, studied law by mail, acted as a midwife, operated a steamboat ferry, and even more, mostly failing at all these things. In the meantime, Sanders got married at age 18 and had 3 children. As Sanders' autobiography recounts, after Sanders got fired from the railroad, his wife left and went to her parents in Alabama. Sanders planned and failed to kidnap his own children, and instead reluctantly reconciled with his wife. The couple would eventually divorce nearly 4 years later. Harlan Sanders' life would change at age 40 when he began selling food to travelers from the back room of the Shell gas station he ran in Corbin, Kentucky. As history points out, he became a hit with travelers selling his simple country fare of country ham, okra, biscuits, string beans, and other similar items, as an alternative to the typical diner food found along the highways. Ironically, fried chicken was not originally on the menu. It took too long to prepare to be able to keep up with demand. Sanders would advertise the food at his Shell station by painting giant signs on barns in the area. This clever marketing scheme greatly upset Matt Stewart, the operator of a nearby competing stand.
Opportunistic. Didn't have a clear vision. He sort of found his way into this after doing lots of different things and showing quite erratic behavior, such as kidnapping his children.
Oil station. Stewart began painting over Sanders' signs, so Sanders went to pay him a visit along with 2 Shell district managers. What they weren't expecting was that Stewart had a gun with which he shot and killed one of the managers. Sanders had his own gun and returned fire, wounding Stewart in the shoulder. Stewart went to prison for murder, and charges against Sanders were dropped, leaving him the gas station king of Kentucky. If you know one thing about Colonel Sanders, it's probably that he made chicken. But if you know a second thing, well, it's that Colonel. Heck, you might even think Colonel was his first name. Certainly more people could name Colonel Sanders than Harlan Sanders. But while it's true that Harlan Sanders did serve in the Army, he wasn't that kind of colonel. As history relates, he lied about his age to join the Army in 1906 at age 15 or 16. He served in Cuba for about 6 months before he was honorably discharged, possibly because his young age was discovered. Suffice it to say, this was not enough time for him to ascend to the rank of colonel. So what gives? In fact, Harlan Sanders was a Kentucky colonel, which is the highest honorary title bestowed by the governor of Kentucky, a distinction later held by Muhammad Ali and Barker. Sanders was declared a colonel by Governor Ruby Laffoon in 1935, and then got re-upped in 1949 because his chicken was just that good. Not one to miss a marketing opportunity, Colonel Sanders made the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's the only way that you're going to get chicken that a stringer like.
Okay, so he's kind of like a Barnum figure.
Fried chicken wasn't on Colonel Sanders' early menu because 30 minutes was too long to wait for serving to cook. Then in 1935, Sanders had probably the most important breakthrough in chicken history. He began frying his chicken in a pressure cooker, which dramatically cut the cook time while preserving quality. What's more, by this time, Sanders was refining his famous blend of 11 herbs and spices, and the combination was ready for explosive success. And just in time, too. In 1935, Sanders' first post-gas station cafe had been named a must-see.
Sorry, Jared, you're saying CSJ typed him as INT as associated as INTP? Well, his version of INTP? No, absolutely not.
Destination in Duncan Hines' travel guide, Adventures in Good Eating. Like Sanders, it's interesting to note Duncan Hines was a real guy, unlike Betty Crocker. Sanders was now nationally famous and had expanded his back room in a gas station kitchen into a 142-seat restaurant. It seemed like finally at age 49, after a host of weird jobs and shootouts, Sanders had found success. As it turns out, he hadn't seen anything yet, but first he had to deal with some bad news. In the early 1950s, Colonel Sanders suffered a couple of setbacks. As explained by the New Yorker, the highway junction that ran in front of his cafe was moved, and then a new interstate highway was built that took traffic away from his location entirely. After a decade of success, it looked like Sanders was done for. In 1956, he auctioned off his business at a huge loss and was now, at age 65, living entirely on his savings and a Social Security check of $105 a month. Fortunately, franchising would be his saving grace. According to history, Sanders taught his chicken frying methods to friend Pete Harmon in Salt Lake City. As it happens, Harmon owned one of the largest restaurants in town, and he started selling Sanders chicken as his first ever franchisee, calling it Kentucky Fried Chicken and selling it in the soon-Detroit market. Following Harmon's success, other businesses wanted to sell Sanders chicken and made arrangements to give him 4 cents for every chicken cooked via his process. Sanders hopped in his 1946 Ford and drove around the country, sleeping in his car with pressure cookers and a bag of spices, looking far and wide for franchisees and finding them everywhere. In 1963, Sanders had over 600 restaurants in the United States and Canada.
Very opportunistic. He sees opportunities, he smells them out, he goes and does it, and he can invent himself and reinvent himself and make him a certain way if need to be. But the key thing for him is making money. He wants to make money, and he's tactical in doing this. He found that wasn't actually quite fried chicken at the time, but it was the food he was selling was turning a profit. So he did that. There isn't vision here. There isn't any introverted intuition here from what I can see. I'm leaning towards SEE for Sanders, but I need to check that. I'm going to look at some other sources. I'm going to look at some quotes. And maybe find an interview as well. I've only had 2 rules. Do all you can and the best you can. The easy way rests hazardously on shifting sands, whereas the hard way builds solidly a foundation of confidence that cannot be swept away. The quality of the food, as restaurant declines, described the grave as having a wallpaper taste. Wealth, like happiness, is never attained, sought after directly. It comes as a byproduct of providing useful service. Okay. I personally hired widows' children because they had to work. I didn't have any foolishness about them. My life is devoted to business. My recipes are priceless. I'm highly critical of the food server KFC. Noting cost-cutting measures had reduced quality. Yeah. Anything else? I read hundreds of cookbooks. Most of these cookbooks don't even tell you how to get a steak ready, how to bake biscuits or an apple pie. There's a lot of extroverted logic in the judgments that he makes. There's no reason to be the richest man in the cemetery. You can't do business from there. There's a ruthless practicality there. I'm against retiring. The thing that keeps a man alive is having something to do. Yeah. Sitting and rocking and appeal to me. Golf or fishing is much fun. Yeah, he's all about the energy. There's a lot of energy to this person. Imagine there's any sort of old interviews of him. Oh, here we go.
I love Chuck. Just about the sweetest. He's about the only thing in the world we got to live for. That's what we put in our daily life for. And we've got a lot of responsibility if the truck leaves the world better than we found it for the children when they grow up.
You have no generation gap, do you?
I hope there's no generation gap. No, sure, I love them from the cradle to the old folks when they get up to my age.
Colonel Sanders, did your chicken make you a wealthy man?
Well, after I started franchising when I was 66 years old. Now that's an advantage again. Don't quit because you're 65, because you can do something and quite worthwhile after that.
It's another thing. Franchising was what saved him. His business basically, in terms of his own efforts, crashed and burned. But his ability to franchise, to persuade other people to take up what he was already doing, was the key to his success. And as he went around persuading people to come on, actually join my franchise, shows he's a very persuasive individual.
So I sold out after 7.5 years. This franchise business, I sold out for $2 million. Not a lot of money. I see in the paper yesterday, the same company that I sold for $2 million sold for $240 million yesterday.
You feel you got left out?
Well, left out. That's right. I don't nobody write me for any money because I didn't get any of that. But with $2 million, that's enough to keep an old person in the family.
Old person, but how old are you?
Well, I'll be 81 my next birthday now.
I suspect you're coming up with something new.
Well, I hope to be doing something because I don't believe in ever stopping because you're a blame that's put in your warehouse. And there's always something to be done.
Yeah, I think he's a gamma extrovert. And I think out of the two, SE makes them a lot more sense. What's this?
Colonel Sanders of Kentucky Fried Chicken fame. Colonel, I appreciate you coming to be my guest on Crossroads.
Sounds going to be nice to meet the people. You do and see what you're doing. And I know you're carrying the message of the Lord to people you get it.
Well, Colonel, you've been doing this too in many different ways in recent years, and you have faced some great crossroads in your life. Would you care to share with us what perhaps the greatest crossroads situation of your life is?
Well, I never been a bad fellow, but I was a sinner in the fact that I was terrible on cursing. And I'm glad to do this tonight because I got to do penance to the Lord for a sin I broke this week after nearly 3 years without taking God's name in vain. I had I don't know, not enough occasion because that'd be a fight, wouldn't it? But anyhow, I had to go with a driver that I had. And we got some real hot words, and I done some cursing. I repeated, and then the insurance man come that night, and I still hadn't got over it. I used God's name in 3 different times. And Brother Rogers prayed with me for 2 hours one time. Since then, getting God to forgive me. Of course, I believe I could have gotten forgiveness myself. So that is one reason I'm glad to be here.
Only younger interviews of him. About 1960s. What's my line? 1963.
Where you're from? I'm from Shelbyville, Kentucky. Shelbyville, Kentucky, right? And what part of the state is that? That's along the west central side. You're in all of Kentucky. Yeah, no,
He's a bit faster here. He's a bit younger.
The next thing I think that we need to do really is to let the audience here in the theater and the audience at home know what your line is.
The Southern Fried Chicken Company. Yeah, he always wears the same thing. He realized that is his brand. He has become his brand. He is a brand. So he only wears that when he's out in public. He's very clear. He does not identify himself as I am Colonel Simon. Doesn't he? Is like, look, this is for business. This is just for business, and it works. So I'm doing it.
Is it anything that I would put into my mouth?
Yes.
I would eat it or drink it?
You would eat it.
Thank you, Colonel. I know you're a Southern gentleman now.
On that account, I think, just for fun.
Is it something I might have in association with the main meal?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it?
Kentucky? Yes. But just let me have a small conference with the Colonel.
I don't look into why he tried to kidnap his children again. Let me look at this. His law career ended got into a fist fight with a client who owed him money in the court. But he's very impetuous. And he went from sort of impetuousness to being, a very savvy businessman. else can we say about this? So he quit school age 16. Wasn't one for academics. Although he did get a law degree afterwards. He just decided to do law. But again, that's another business idea. Yeah, this is a guy who doesn't have much, who didn't live life in any direction. I think that's the key thing. He did not have direction. He got very depressed at times because he was like, "What about I've failed because I'm doing this and doing this, and it's not linking up to anything. It's not leading to any outcome." And eventually, he got lucky with the chicken, and then he worked on that. I think SCE makes the most sense, to be honest. I think SCE. I don't think LSE, Jared. There's sensation, introvert sensation, in as far as the standards of what he's creating and brand. But again, it's always viewed through business and how he can be independently successful. Plus, that's the idea of being a brand like that all the time. That must be very tiring for another. Okay, so I think SEE. What's next? So, yeah, Pale Valkyrie has donated $20. Thank you so much, Pale Valkyrie. I'm gonna have to prioritize the $20. That's the highest amount. And yeah, in terms of the two, well, I'll very quickly do both. I'm already very sure of Candace Owens being SLE. I'm not sure what else could be SLE. She is very combative. She is very comfortable in an argumentative setting. Um, yeah, she's not very sort of personally likable. Um, she has a certain charisma to her, but again, she is a scrapper. She likes to get into scraps, and she has very strong, very provocative positions on things, and likes to be provocative. What else can I say about her? Um, she also had a number of different business ventures before she joined the Daily Wire. She headed up this sort of thing called a social autopsy, where she'd be able to sort of dig into people's histories to find bad actions and just dox them. So there's sort of initiative taking. There's a sort of aggressive person um, who's now taken on this very social conservative, almost sort of woke rightist now. It's got more and more extreme rightist ideology. Yeah, I think SLE makes the most sense for her, to be honest. I'm not sure what other type she really could be. Um, yeah, trying to think what else. Nick Fuentes. Now that's one I'm interested in because I have not solidified around a typing for him. Nick Fuentes. I mean, he probably has to be beta as well, to be fair. Take a look. He's quite a bit younger than Candace Owens. From 1998. Well, leads the Groypers, doesn't he? Okay, American far right, political commentator, activist, and live streamer, Christian nationalist. Like international relations and politics. Dropped out in connection with the tendency to unite the right rally. He neither supported Nazism or the majority of the crowd, but believed the violence of the counter-protesters spurred violence in return. I think dropped out of Boston University receiving death threats. Right. So Fuentes, perhaps even more than Candace Owens, does things that are controversial. Says things that are controversial. So he has this. He's managed to attract this cult following of referring to themselves as groypers. America first. So he set that America. No, remove. Yep. So that was his channel. America first. Yeah. Let's see what else there is here. He's criticised Erica Kirk's response to her husband's assassination, saying that she's very fake. Goodness gracious me. Domestic capital attack. He's in rallies led up to the United States capital attack. He immediately praised Adolf Hitler in bomber and declared Jews from the news. So there's a difference between him and Candace Owens. One, he takes being provocative even further. He says overtly controversial things. He bestowed giggling praise on Hitler. He claimed his anti-Semitic views had toned down as he aged. It's like, okay, there's a certain trolling element to this. But all other, he's been able to actually build a movement around him, these groypers. There's a certain charisma there. And it's more effective than Candace Owens' charisma. I don't think Candace Owens has actually been able to build a movement around. There's no group of Candace Owens groupies, as it were. But there is one for Fuentes. I'm going to see in a debate situation. I wonder. Relationship with Kanye West. Interesting. Again, promoting Kanye West's presidential campaign alongside fellow alt-right conspiracy theorist Milo Yiannopoulos. This is the thing. There's something Milo-ish about this. I think Milo's an EIE. Christian nationalism, anti-Semitism, and Islamophobia. It's Catholic, identifies the traditional Catholic movement. Movement emphasizes beliefs, practices, customs, traditions, liturgical forms, devotions, and presentations of teaching to the Catholic Church before the Second Vatican Council. He's an integralist. The principle that Catholic faith should be the basis of public law and public policy with civil society, whether they're mostly Catholics involved. Right. You're either a Catholic or you're with the Jews. He denies the Holocaust. Goodness gracious me. Does he actually deny the Holocaust? See, sometimes I find it difficult to believe all things that's Wikipedia, but, you know. Does he actually deny the Holocaust? Right. I don't need to get down that rabbit hole. I'm going to do an interview. Let's see. Talking to Dave Smith. So the reaction videos.
Population, blow up all their shit, starve them to death. They're going to force them to go to war zones and imprison the rest. And then they're going to build AI-powered smart cities on the blockchain.
It was eloquent in his defense of the people of Gaza. The problem with Nick is which Nick is going to show up. I wrote a book called Logos Rise. Next thing I know, Jordan Peterson shows up in Ephesus and is going to talk about Logos, tweeting Netanyahu saying, give him hell.
I believe that there were therefore multiple decoys on the ground. I do not believe.
We got to get rid of Islam and our problems will be solved. I didn't know anything about Islam. This is
Okay, let me skip this.
Explosions and airstrikes and being shot in the face and disabled. And this administration's making it into basically a joke. We're going to turn it into a game show. Now, these beleaguered people that are officially being starved to death and genocided, 107 people dead in the past 24 hours from hunger, we're going to give them digital tokens on the blockchain in exchange for their territory, and then we're going to kick them out and send them to Somalia. What the fuck is this?
Your thoughts, Dr. Jones? Look, I agree with everything he said.
Okay, I don't need to these two people on them. I need to look at them directly. Who is Nick Fuentes? Ah, here we go.
Your opinion of I'm Middle Eastern married to a white girl. Do you think it's better off for America to minimize more of me coming to America?
America is no longer America. Mass migration is changing what America is. And I want to conserve what America historically has always been.
Well, that's a little bit, that's a little bit harsh.
I'm not in favor of interracial marriages. That's against my values. I want to have a white wife. I want to have white kids. That's important to me.
That's kind of racist.
I agree.
Okay.
But let's remember the context.
How bad is the video? Is it appropriate?
Show it up, yeah.
Rob, can you put it on? I'm actually curious about the videos.
Funny, sir. I'm not sorry because this is a political attack. This is how political control is maintained.
Go a week ago and you're like, you don't need to do it. Drop it in the word. How is your approach going to change moving forward?
I don't think there's much that needs to change.
I've seen
I don't platform trolls.
But how are you processing this?
I'm going to tell you the truth. I thought there were things about the memorial that were distasteful. I did not like him when he was alive. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, listen, you going to the dark side of where you're going right now. Is that kind of where you're going or not at all?
I didn't even want to do the show at that time. I was looking for an off-ramp. At that point, they were trying to knock me out. It made me want to stay in the game.
I got it. Okay.
He's got, whenever he speaks, he's got that sort of smile on his face. It feels very much like he is becoming this person and laughing at it at the same time.
And me, for my entire career, I'll talk to anybody. And the reason why I wanted to speak to him is because this interview happened the day after me leaving Charlie Kirk's memorial. First time I had
outside in the suburbs of Chicago.
Maple.
There was Lion Township, Weather Springs.
Okay. So it's not like it's Chicago. It's a good area of Chicago, mostly white. And we say politically center, left, don't care, Republican. What would you say the demo was?
I would say it's pretty center left. It's very Catholic. Some Catholic, some Protestant. But what was interesting about it is very liberal, but not leftist, not very progressive. So even though we were in the middle of a very progressive revolution under Obama, I mean, these guys were all liberal, but they weren't communists. It wasn't like New York or Portland.
So what year is this? When you were a junior in high school? This would make it what?
2015.
2015. Okay, so this is, has Trump yet announced anything?
So he announced August 2015. So it's right around that time.
I think he's the most controversial. He is certainly the most provocative. I think he would not be happy if he wasn't the most controversial person. And I think that is the most consistent thing about him is he is controversy for the sake of controversy. And I think he knows that. And I think he is laughing at it at the same time. And for that reason, I'm line, I think EIE is most likely typing for him. It's not with Candace. It's different. If you look at Candace Owens, an example, there is a certain logical seriousness that comes through when she gets into these sorts of debates, and it doesn't come across very well. She struggles to some degree in keeping her audience.
Right, you guys, happy Thursday. Last show until I take a much needed break. And it's going to be a good one. As always, as we continue this investigation, we are definitively getting closer. So, what do we recall? Well, we were told that Charlie just had healthy bones, that it was a miracle that the gun did not take his neck out and that his spine somehow stopped it. I can now officially debunk that Marvel storyline and therefore refocus our investigation on what actually happened on 9/10 because I have new
And see, for her, it's about, I am now going to create clarity for your understanding. I'm going to debunk this. I'm going to make sure that you understand it in this way, and this is the narrative. So there's a sense of narrative control that comes immediately when Candace starts a video. We look at Nick Fuentes, he's just happy to be the provocative guy on the side, like the Joker watching things burn. But for Candace, there is a sense of I am creating this narrative, I am controlling this, and there's a desire to control that. Well, I'd say comes across quite a lot when Candace is speaking.
Information, and I'm presenting it to the public today. Plus, later on in the show, Josh Hammer has emerged. You know, he's the one that thinks that all. You will recall that throughout all of this, or during the mayhem, rather, there were people who were insisting, by the way, that were on the ground, the witnesses that were insisting that they heard multiple shots. That's another element of this. But those individuals were not the ones that were awarded with mainstream media interviews. In fact, one guy, and this kind of went viral at the time, even got pushed physically.
Let's even find Nick Fuentes.
And was not given the ability to speak at all. They
Maybe I can debate with the two of them. That's a good one.
So I'm trying to understand if you're actually, you think that it's all Black people are like this, or if your world is kind of colored by this is what's going on in America, this has failed for 1,000 reasons, welfareism has definitely, like, I mean, Black people in 1940s, stand up. My grandfather, I talk about that denigration and the corrosion of culture. Yeah. That's happening. White, Black, whatever you want to name it, there's this intentional corrosion of culture. So do you think it's literally, well, this is just what a Black person is when they come out? Or do you think that post welfare, LBJ, Great Society, this is what Black Americans have become, and I have a right to respond to that and say that as a white, I don't want to live there?
Well, you know, I think it's more nature than people like to believe. You know, there's this classic tension of, is it nature and nurture? Is it cultural, or is it intrinsic? Is it racial? And I've always been on the latter side of this among conservatives. Conservatives like to say it's all culture. Black America is the way it is because of hip hop music and the Great Society and that kind of stuff. And I think the uncomfortable reality is a big part of it is intrinsic. You know, one of the big arguments against the abolition of slavery in the 1860s is that, you know, when Europeans colonized Africa, they hadn't discovered the wheel. There's no two-story buildings.
That's crazy. No wheel? There's no two-story buildings? I wonder if they had fire. Dude, but full 20. No writing.
African people, because there's no recorded history. They didn't have writing.
So Egypt is not in Africa.
Well, Egypt is a different race.
You know what? A lot of people think all of Africa is nothing but sub-Saharan. Hold on, Black folks. Like, but it's a continent.
Okay.
But it's not. I'm not trying to get a gotcha. I'm just responding. You're saying Africa.
Yeah.
It's in Africa. It's Egypt. It's kind of ridiculous to say there was no written language. Well, so I'm just trying to get you to
sure.
You know,
Egyptians are not Africans.
If I'm not pushing back, the internet will. So you know.
Egyptians are not racial Africans. When I say African, I'm sub-Saharan African.
Sub-Saharan. Okay.
Black people that because it is a different race. In sub-Saharan Africa, and Europeans did not penetrate that until late 19th century. they didn't have any of this. To the extent that you have infrastructure in Africa, it's from the Muslims in the Sahel, in the Maghreb, in northern Africa, where the Arabs colonized. And then you had, Carthage and Egypt, you had ancient civilizations. But sub-Saharan Africa, they didn't have that. You take these people out of that land and put them here, and they're enslaved people.
Let's see if, as well as I can see of Nick Fuentes. Maybe some quotes by him. So calling on people to move towards the capital, break it down. So at every single point, he is positioning himself in the way where it's about, okay, let's escalate this. Let's move this further. Being dismantled genocide, I think in the past we play with Disney populists think just like every other loser government came before. If you're white male Zuma, remember that the people in power hate you and your unborn children. They will try to genocide you in your lifetime. It's interesting, he's never had a girlfriend. I want a family eventually. The problem is, I don't think I'll get the same joy out of a woman that I would with a monkey. Monkeys are funny and endearing. Women are just kind of like annoying and cringe. He says things because of how people will react to it. This is not just someone who is saying things and not considering properly how people will react to it. He knows exactly how people are going to react to what he says. Calling Donald Trump a racist only makes me like him more. I don't judge. I don't care if they're doing their personal, as long as they're here to dox hillbillies. As long as they are soldiers. Look, I don't care how gay they are, as long as they are my loyal cult members who give me money and dox hillbillies when I give them the command. I think it's, look. He's there's a certain amount of logical, there's factual knowledge there, sure, but I don't think that's why he does what he does. From looking at these quotes, it's not someone just puts foot in his mouth. If you're anti-mandate but not anti-vax, you are gay. That's not logical. There isn't a commitment from him to form logical arguments. There is an attempt by Candace to do so. I think for Nick, when he says you are gay, he's trying to provoke you into reacting in a certain way. It's about reactivity. And there is a broad range of interests that also shows here. His mind goes into a lot of different directions more so than Candace. Candace is sort of like a hammer. Look, I think he's a smart EIE. I don't think he's a logical type. Okay, she'll let me be me. She'll never me. Want to marry a guy like me? And before you say yes, or you jump and say yes, of course your hands are. I'm not to see Kevin. During the night, day. I'm late to everything. Don't give Christmas gifts. I'm moody, temperamental, hot and cold. You know, some have the worst mood ever, some the best mood ever. I'd rather mean it. My life is crazy. You know, would to kill me. Some people I'm a cult leader, hate women. This is very EIE. This is very EIE. There's an EIE who has created this image and this persona of being the guy on the furthest right it could possibly be for people to hate. And the idea is that by portraying himself as hateful, he then causes other people to hate him, and he revels in that. That is what seems to make sense from going through this. It's almost Gillian. And I don't think there is that kind of thematic sophistication with someone like Candace, who I'd say is much more the jackhammer of, you know, she wants to get into scraps. She wants to demonstrate her argumentative superiority over someone. There is TI's value to him, but I don't see it front and center in his arguments. There's a good amount of factual knowledge. But often when he'll endorse a position because that's the most controversial position, rather than necessarily because this is all entirely consistent in what I believe. If you compare to Doug, to that pastor we're looking at before, the introverted logic was key. For him, it's not key. It's valued very much. I think he's drawn to that, but really, it's the provocativeness is the key thing for him. All right, so that's two for you, Holly. That's SLE for Candace Owens, EIE for Nick Fuentes. All right, now we get to, let's say this is the last one. The last one I'm going to do is Blackfire's Jiddu Krishnamurti. Let's do that now. An Indian orator and writer, Indian spiritual speaker and writer. I would add that, yes, it may sound very stereotypically II to be a spiritual speaker and writer, but it's very important to also keep in mind that in Indian culture, that is far more normalized than it would be necessarily in the West. This is a civilization where the ruling class was the priests. It wasn't military. It wasn't the nobles. It wasn't the bureaucrats as it was in China and increasingly becoming here. It's the priests, and so spiritual emancipation is a very key part of Indian identity. Let's just set that as the benchmark. Let's see. In spiritual speaker and writer, for the mantle of a side world teacher, a role he was raised. Yep. Okay. See, it wasn't just he was raised into this. He disbanded the Order of the Star in the East, which had been formed around him. And this is like speaking to groups, individuals around the world, hoping to contribute a radical transformation of mankind. Doctor members of a Theosophical Society as a child, right? How's he adopted, right? Born during the late British Raj. 1909. He was born 1895. 1909. It's 14. Has a particle of selfishness in his aura. The boy had always said, I will do whatever you want. Subservience, obedience was vague, uncertain, woolly. He didn't seem to care what was happening. It was like a vessel with a large hole in it. Whatever was put in, it went through. Nothing remained. He himself described his state of mind as a young boy. No thought entered his mind. He was watching, listening, and nothing else. Thought, with its association, arose. There was no image making. He often attempted to think, but no thought would come. Interesting. He basically would become the world teacher after correct spiritual and secular guidance and education. He struggled with formal schooling, natural aptitude in sports, was not academically inclined. This is the tricky part because this is cultivated by the group around him rather than him. Very interesting. So look at this sort of seizure. Nice 22. Let's go there. So you dissolve the order. I've made a decision after careful consideration during the previous 2 years. Choose the pathless land. You cannot approach it by any path whatsoever, by any religion, by any sect, as my point of view. Here to absolutely unconditionally. Truth be unconditioned, unapproachable. Any path whatsoever cannot be organized, nor should any organization be formed to lead or coerce people along a particular path. When you follow someone, you cease to follow truth. I'm not concerned whether you pay attention to what I say or not. I want to do a certain thing in the world, and I'm doing it with unwavering concentration. I concern myself with only one essential thing: set man free. I desire to free him from all cages, from all fears, not to found religions, new sects, not to establish new theories and new philosophies. Absolutely unconditionally free. Interesting. Any other quotes from Jiddu Krishnamurti? Hmm. Here we go. There's no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. One's never afraid of the unknown. One is afraid of a known coming to an end. We all want to be famous people. The moment we want to be something, we're no longer free. That's a very, very Indian idea. Diet everything of yesterday so that your mind is always fresh, always young, instant full of vigor and passion. All ideologies are idiotic, whether religious or political, for it is conceptual thinking, the conceptual world, which is so unfortunately divided man. In seeking comfort, we generally find a quiet corner in life where there's minimum of conflict when we are afraid to step out of that seclusion. Whether you call yourself an Indian or a Muslim or a Christian or a European or anything else, you're being violent. Do you see why it is violent? Because you are separating yourself from the rest of mankind. When you separate yourself by belief, by nationality, by tradition, it breeds violence. Fascinating. A consistent thinker is a thoughtless person because he conforms to a pattern, he repeats phrases and thinks in the groove. This can come across as the rejection of introverted thinking with extroverted sensation. But I'm not sure. I don't have any interviews of him. Oh, it's the official channel. And what I would say is, regarding the Delta argument, you listen to this, there is no extroverted logic at all. He's talking about fundamentally a shift of mindset. And that mindset is from going on about worrying about your particular issue to seeing yourself as a part of a greater, magnificent whole that is humanity. That sounds very uplifting. It does, but it's not a practical thing. He's not trying to help you with how to do X, Y, and Z. It's about a mindset shift. It's about almost the realization or the epiphany comes from internalizing that mindset that he proposes. And this idea that if you're not doing this, you're thinking about yourself, you are building boundaries around who you are against other people. And he sees that as violent, especially when seen in some sort of group dynamic, which then detracts from the idea of a united whole. There is something almost alpha-ish about what he's proposing here. Although I don't see that much in the way of... I don't necessarily see introverted logic in the driving seat. He uses the language of breaking away from organized religions, etc. But I think it also means a breaking away from the control of these owls, these groups, these cults, and instead connecting directly with people and almost a sort of apotheosis of himself as the sort of world teacher figure. But I'll set you free. I'll free the world by saying things which come across as very profound, which are sort of spiritual in nature, which are not really practical in nature. And yeah, preaching unity, harmony, because it all sounds really, really good. IIs can be, this is the thing, IIs can present themselves as anti-ideological. They really can. In fact, IIs are fantastic presenting themselves as almost the opposite of what they actually are. If you look at, say, examples such as Emmanuel Macron or Barack Obama, these are both politicians who are very much of the elite, yet presented themselves as being not of the elite. IIs often play this sort of it's kind of sort of bait and switch where they will say, no, I don't believe in ideologies. No, I'm all about freedom. I'm all about humanity. I'm all about these sorts of things, even while being at the forefront of a movement of shared beliefs. And it's belief in the unity that is then the belief. It's and this seems to be what's going on here. If I'm listening to this, and it's the same as pretty much any kind of spiritual guru, I listen to Osho, and it's similar-ish. Osho's a bit more provocative, far less sort of very sort of gentle, very sort of there's more bite to Osho. I think Osho's more like an EIE, but it's definitely in that space. I think it's interesting that certainly when he was younger, there was a difficulty in taking in new factual information, integrating that. Whereas in things that he almost sought out this spiritual group as a child, he was drawn to it. I think, is that right? It's not as if he was sort of, I don't know, bound and taken by them. His father retired. He sought employment at headquarters. He was a vegetarian from birth. His family was strict vegetarians. He was an opponent of meat eating. Ethical, spiritual reasons, also a teetotaler, non-smoker, practitioner of yoga. Okay. He first met Charles Webster Leadbeater, who claimed clairvoyance, had noticed Krishnamurti on the Society's beach, and was amazed by the most wonderful aura he had seen. It had a particle of selfishness in it, yes. He helped Krishna with his homework, and very particularly dim-witted. Ernest Wood. It's interesting, he wasn't good at sort of taking in new factual information. It's clear he's not an idiot, an idiotic figure, but in that environment he was struggling with that. But Leadbeater believed he would become a spiritual teacher and great orator, the likely vehicle for Lord Maitreya. Well, I'm pretty sure Leadbeater is probably the EIE figure here. Wouldn't be surprised. What is theosophy anyway? The movement, primarily by the Russian Helena Blavatsky, larger her writings. It's actually not Hindu in origin. Interesting. Okay, he took him in. He thought this boy is sort of his way of coming across. It has a certain sort of spiritual profundity to it, which is also what which IIs often have. I mean, if you look at the aesthetic, it is a very stereotypical II aesthetic. He's watching and listening and nothing else. He describes his state of mind as a boy. Nothing else. Thought with association never arose, and no image making, often attempted to think, but no thought would come. I wonder if that's something about, was it no image making? I don't know. It's an unusual way that he describes himself. What people did say, he was vague, uncertain, woolly, didn't seem to care what was happening. That sounds very much like an II. There's elements of subservience, very much extrovert sensation suggests function is making sense here. I think he's an II. I think he's an II who has, in breaking free, and it's a key thing, he is breaking free of theosophy, of the sort of cult-like group that was trying to present him as their spiritual, almost like a messianic figure. And by disbanding them, saying, I have almost moved beyond you, moved beyond these limiting ideologies towards to an understanding of the deep truth, which is unifying and all encompassing. But again, being a spiritual guru, as it were, with lots of people listening to him, and yeah, and this idea that he wants to free the world, it still feels very much beta NF. It is it is ideology presented as anti-ideology, or you could say, rather maybe the idea here is that ideology, where it's a set of rules and structures overly rigid, that isn't what the IEI is trying to do here. And IEIs often are looking more towards the deeper truth, and they can suggest the ideology is a barrier towards the deeper truth. It's still an idea of the absolute truth, whatever that is, but that absolute truth is not limited by certain structures, certain group belongings, us versus them. He's trying to rise above it and transcend it, and that's the key thing. His belief structure is one of transcendence above all these other sorts of things. It still is getting people around him believing in what he is talking about, and talking about it in terms of sense of emancipation from the trappings of reality and the trappings of ideology. Um, it still is a philosophy. It is not. It does. It's not. It is still not a practical how-to, and that's why I say the IR are incredible at presenting themselves as being something different from what they actually are. All right. So I think I. I'm not sure what else it could be. He founded 5 schools. He made the following as his educational aims: a global outlook, a vision of the whole as distinct from the part. Should never be a sectarian outlook, or was a holistic outlook. Yeah, IIs often do this. They often talk about, I am the holistic one. I have transcended all of these sectarian ways of thinking. Concern for the environment. Humanity is part of nature. If nature is not cared for, it will boomerang on man. In the right education, deep affection between people everywhere, many problems. There's no practicality whatsoever to this. If you all embrace the right vibes, then all these problems will be resolved. Religious spirit, which includes the scientific test, the religious mind is alone, not lonely. It is in communion with people and nature. That doesn't sound very sound scientific. Again, it's pure vibe. Like an LII would get at least a little bit technical here. There are a good number of IIs that almost come across as alpha-ish because they present themselves trying to bring everything together. But what they're really doing is trying to transcend limitation. And it's all about the transcendence and moving away from that way of thinking. That is really what it's about. So yeah, I think IEI. All right. I think that's everyone. That's all the super chats. Let me just go back and check. Done a good amount of people today. All right. Oh, do people want me to do this weekly or monthly? What do you think? I'm happy to do it next month. People will prefer it more weekly. There'll be more. You want more of these sessions? Please let me know. Yeah, just let me know. Would you want this week or monthly? Any comments on here? I greatly appreciate. Hmm. Incheon would love it weekly. All right. I don't know. Maybe try every other week. What a wonderful compromise, Chris. I like that. Weekly. People say weekly. All right. I could try next week. I am doing something some Sundays now, so I might need to move it to a weekday need to see. But yeah, okay, I can try it weekly. People, I'll try it maybe next week, and if it doesn't have quite the same engagement, then I'll shift it towards bi-weekly. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Have a lovely rest of your evenings or mornings, depending on where you are. Take care now. Bye-bye.